What's going on and what's happening, and welcome into week 7 of the College Football Show presented by AT&T. I am Treavor Scales, here with you as always, and joining me to my left side, your TV right, if you were looking on camera or whatever. That's Big Joe Fauria.
What's
He's
up,
here
guys?
to hold it down with us, man. How you doing?
Good to see you, Trevor.
Appreciate you sliding through. We also got Gary Striewski holding us over there in the corner.
I know we just started the show, Trevor, but
Yeah,
I got a bit of a concern.
Okay, get right to it.
Not a shot that the man sitting to your left is just not a taller version of Dean Cain. That's Superman.
I like that.
I have my glasses in my
like
backpack.
that.
That's Superman right
Full on Clark Kent.
That's not a Fauria.
Let's do it.
That's Dean Cain.
Let's do it. He's got the pose down and
I'm
everything.
here for some football.
I'll
baby.
join later.
We are here to get you through all things past, present, and future of week 7 here in the college football world. And that starts with a little thing that we like to call talking football. And the first thing that we will talk about is something that I am not happy about. Some might say I am upset about, Big Joe. And I use that term very pointedly. Shout out to the Georgia Bulldogs. Not really, though. It's not a good shout out whatsoever. They took on South Carolina at home, mind you, and it was not a good effort whatsoever. Jake Fromm was off his spot all day through 3 picks. This his first on the season on a 14-point swing, essentially. They were driving, and the big fella, Israel Makamura, takes it back to the crib for 6.
1 of 3 for Muwakamak. How do you say it? Yeah, that.
However you say it, that's what the pronunciation is.
Jake Fromm, he did have a great touchdown pass later on. That did show his eliteness, but it wasn't. It was a 1 speck.
And that's the thing, like, this whole game was just a mess in general. We have the missed field goal here by Jake Smith. That one was from 57 yards out. I'm not entirely sure what Will Muschamp was thinking on that one, but then here's the third and final pick from Jake Fromm, Big Joe, and that's not even on him, frankly.
That wasn't on him. He came to the game with 77.5% completion range, but he doesn't throw a lot of big-time above 15-yard plays. But he was back there, uncomfortable. His O-line didn't give him much help, and it just looked a little bit like bad news bears today for Jake Fromm.
Georgia catches a break. Patrick White has to come back and kick another one after they get a big stop on the first overtime. And in the second overtime, Rodrigo Blankenship has to come through and does not do so. So Georgia, your first big-time top program, top 3 program, number 3 specifically, falls early on in this season, but it is a long season, right? I mentioned at the top of the show, it's week 7, right? We're going to be here for a while. They have some chances to make this thing up, right? If they want to get back into the college football playoff conversation.
I like your optimism. I know you're a big Atlanta fan.
I
Georgia
am.
fan,
I am. Through and through.
But I do not see a playoff winning team, a college football playoff winning team. There's only a few of them get in there, and I don't think that type of team that showed up today would be in there.
That's totally fair, because like I haven't trusted necessarily, even though I'm a fan of them, I haven't trusted the performances that I've seen from even on the biggest stages when they were playing Notre Dame. The run game just wasn't nearly as explosive, certainly not in the pass game. They don't have the same threats that they had on the edge last year in Miko Hardman and others. And so this offense isn't necessarily as potent as you would like it to be. They don't do anything truly exceptionally well against very good teams, and that's something that's going to catch up to you if you're trying to get into this Final Four conversation.
Right. They showed up, Jake Fromm's first loss in Athens, and they were 3 touchdown favorites.
Yes.
And they did not show up today like that.
And let's get into a little bit more with Jake Fromm specifically, because it was just an off day. Like, I'm willing to chalk one up to the game in that regard. But some of these throws, like, they were past errant. They just were ill-advised. They were latent to the outside. One maybe is trying to get out of bounds, trying to get rid of it. But there were so many different misses on the day for him that are frankly unacceptable. And you mentioned, like, as far as his hopes for the Heisman, that's pretty much a wrap on that, right?
Yeah, he does not deserve the He Is Man trophy after showing up like a
man.
little boy
like
today.
Fair enough.
But hey, talk about Israel, 3 picks today. That boy made his money
He
today.
certainly did.
He was climbing up those draft boards with that type of performance, and he's 6'4" with a long stride. I'm 6'8", but if I see a 6'4" corner, my mind goes a little bit like, oh, how am I going to do this? Because the top shelf is not an option anymore.
Correct. Like, you might be able to get up there with you, especially at the corner position.
Right.
Like you talk about, like, especially at that pro level, what it comes down to is being able to be extremely athletic, and they love the long frames, and Israel certainly showed both of those 2 things to the fullest on Saturday in their big-time win. South Carolina gets the win, improves to 500 with a win over the number 3 Dogs. They go on to get a big win there, and we go on to talk about this Red River Rivalry.
Yes,
nailed it. Nailed it. Had a little skirmish pregame because, of course, you got to get after
It's
it,
a rivalry,
right?
baby.
And then Jalen Hurts takes over. But the main man that we got to talk about, Big Joe, CeeDee Lamb is a monster. Like, this dude.
King of the court, baby.
Yes, he was clowning.
There was a time where he was 1 on 5 and he made everybody miss. It was a beautiful sight to see.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get to that a couple times. But there were some struggles for Oklahoma and the Sooners. Red zone turnovers were a big theme today. That's your one red zone interception. There was also a drive in which they were entering the red zone where Jalen Hurts fumbled. And Texas took full advantage whenever they possibly could. They got some really big plays out of a running back core that was assembled from shambles, frankly. That's a true freshman that played quarterback in high school that just busted off that long run, and then you have him finish off the drive. And Texas kept this interesting all game long.
Well, Jalen Hurts, you want to see a quarterback. Oh, wait, the CD.
Yeah, we got to appreciate this. This is the one.
This is the move. How does he get in the end zone?
Off the flea flicker.
Yes.
The determination, the power to get through everything. And then here's Sam Ehlinger on the other side. Like, he's a guy that's been involved in both pass and run game for the Texas Longhorns. Again, we talk about, like, just let's go back to the Heisman discussion, right? Like, so two quarterbacks that were certainly earmarked as candidates. Jalen Hurts nor Sam Ehlinger had particularly good days. 16 of 28 for Jalen, 3 touchdowns, 2 of which were like CeeDee Lamb efforts.
1-yard passes, yeah.
Correct. And then you look at Sam Ehlinger. He went 26 for 38, had 210 yards, not a single passing touchdown, not an interception either, but he did contribute 2 rushing touchdowns. So when you look at those lines, right, they aren't necessarily Heisman-like performances, but they showed up in the moments that mattered. Jalen Hurts had a Heisman-type play, when he threw it behind his back a little bit, right? Like,
and one mixtape.
Exactly. Like, he was clowning a little bit. So, but I don't think it takes either one of them out of the conversation necessarily, but it didn't necessarily boost the resume either.
Jalen Hurts is going to New York for the Heisman ceremony no matter what, strictly based off his running ability and his ability to extend the play and extend the offensive game. And with his passing game, it leaves a lot to be desired.
Sure.
The red zone interception, you cannot have that at this level. And he also had a fumble later on in the game. You want your Heisman potential quarterback to lead you and to protect the football.
But what I will say that actually boosts his resume a little bit is the storyline surrounding Jalen Hurts, right? Like, the guy that comes from Alabama was demoted to backup after being the starter and has one bad half of football, and then Tua takes over from that. But then he comes in and saves the day in the SEC championship against Georgia, and that propels him to an Oklahoma program where he has since dominated. And Lincoln Riley has made the offense easier for him. So he's been prolific in the passing game as well. But a lot of it, to your point, is attributable to the scheme that he's involved in. But he does have, that campaign as far as the storyline goes, and that's a chip on the shoulder that he's playing with that is really just unmatched. He looks angry every single time he steps on the field, and it's something you got to appreciate as a ball player.
And he'll continue to look angry when he goes to New York, but he won't be carrying the trophy.
Oh, got him.
Guys, question for you. I know athletes say the best ability is availability.
For sure.
Wrong. Pronounceability of that game. What was it, Fauria? Say it.
What's that?
Say it.
What?
What do you call Oklahoma,
that showdown between those
Oklahoma, Texas.
The Red River Rivalry.
two? TV, man. TV got you. He got you on that. Yeah, hold that, Gary.
Educated. Yeah, Jalen Hurts ain't going to win.
I like Jalen Hurts for the record. I think I'm still riding with him.
He's probably in the weight room right now.
Listen, he's
crazy.
Gonna get after
and
it.
not just that, you mentioned all of the tangible things, but how about the recency bias? Obviously, we know the history and the lineage of the last 2 Oklahoma quarterbacks, and that's not in the back of everyone's mind. That's the forefront. They're like, oh man, every single time you associate Jalen Hurts with doing anything good, look what Lincoln Riley's doing with these quarterbacks. So he's staying in the conversation even when he doesn't have these incredible games that we're used to seeing early on in the season.
2 number 1 overall picks in the NFL draft, 2 Heisman trophies to go along with it. Like,
that happened? That's crazy. That's crazy.
What was also crazy was Clemson's performance against Florida State today. I'm talking about not a lick of resistance from the Noles, unfortunately. And Trevor Lawrence was doing Trevor Lawrence things. Travis Etienne was acting. Yes, sunshine indeed. And the sun was shining down there in Death Valley for the Clemson Tigers. They continue to turn in dominant performance after dominant performance. And it's just another example of how these dudes really will likely waltz their way into the college football playoff, given the lack of competition on their schedule and just how well they perform on a week-to-week basis.
Love watching Sunshine throw the ball, man.
He can spin it.
And he has some good receivers to help him out, too.
He goes 17 for 25 unofficially, 270 on the day, 3 passing touchdowns, just 1 pick, but we aren't really concerned with that. Clemson improves to 5-0. It looks like we got about 25 seconds or so left on that clock, but we could probably just go ahead and say that's a wrap, essentially. I think that's safe to say. But when it comes to what Clemson has to do for their playoff, it's really not much. Like, their appearance is essentially locked in, no?
Yeah, who else can really show them any sort of competition in the ACC? I don't really see anyone else besides potentially Florida State, and they're done now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That was a weird sort of set of circumstances for a lot of people. They said that this was athletically the one program that could keep up with them in the ACC,
right.
To your point, right? Like, it was the one chance that anybody had to pick off this rolling Clemson team, just like South Carolina picked off Georgia. It's just those one instances where you can just get caught slipping by any given athletically loaded roster. That was the chance, it felt like, and it sure didn't happen. Like, they are playing at another level, especially off of a bye week. That always helps you prepare and everything like that.
When we're talking these teams earlier, struggling with execution, Clemson showing why they're the number two team in the nation, potentially number 1 team, depending what happens in Alabama, that they deserve that because they execute every play, and they're had a great performance against Florida State.
I still would like to see more touches for Travis Etienne. He gets 17 carries. He goes for 127 yards, but I just think that there's more left in the tank for him. But like you mentioned, there's certainly no shortage of receivers over there either. So, like, it's just a matter of making sure everybody gets fed an equal and proportional
Everyone's
amount.
gotta
right?
eat.
Everybody got to eat. Everybody got to
his
eat.
ear to the street, too, because it was just 2 weeks ago where they barely squeaked one out thanks to a 2-yard failed conversion attempt by UNC. And we're like, whoa,
Right.
What's going on with Clemson? Is Alabama going to jump them? Do they even deserve a top 4 spot? You don't think Dabo Swinney saw that tape and even saw some of the chatter and was like, hey, is this what you guys think that we are? You know, telling his team that.
A little bulletin board
so
material.
you know
Yeah.
he's mashing the gas for the rest of this regular season. They
yeah.
have to pummel people.
Oh, it's foot on necks.
Yeah.
And it has to be, like you said. Like, they have to put these sort of stellar performances on in order to eliminate any sort of question that they belong.
Because there was a
in
lot
that
of
college
people
football
questioning
playoff.
just
Yeah.
2 weeks ago.
Hey, man, but shout out Mac Brown, former
And
cast.
Dabo is definitely going to get them going.
For sure.
Let's move on to another top contender in this college football playoff. A quick discussion about Alabama and Texas A&M. They're getting after it right now. 47-28, I believe. Is that a final, Marissa? Can you help me out with that? That is not final.
I do see some tight end love, though, which I do appreciate.
Oh, yeah, you got to love the tight end love, right? Like, you a little biased. We'll get into, like, your accolades and everything in just a second. But
More about me.
Yes, I would love to, just for the record.
That's the most tight end line ever. 3 catches, 2 of them were scores. Cool.
Nothing but touchdowns, baby.
Get money, crew. That score is now officially final. Shout out to Max. Appreciate you. Appreciate you as well, Marissa. Kind of keeping me honest on that. But another Heisman-like performance for Tua Tagovailoa. I wonder, I got a question for you, Joe, Big Joe. When it comes to the performances that Tua has, we know that he has potentially 2, 3, maybe even 4, like first-round caliber receivers sitting in his receiver room.
Crazy.
Does that take away from his appeal as a Heisman candidate? Can he work through that and survive and get to the ceremony despite having the wealth of the wealth of talent around him?
You want to see what a player like him does with that wealth. Does he raise the play of his receivers? Is he Michael Jordan making everyone else around him better? Or is he throwing red zone interceptions all the time? And that's just one. Yeah. And he still put up good numbers, and he still has a victory. But you want to see guys like him, even with their stacked receivers, that he actually raises their play and takes them to a new level. And coaches and scouts can find that.
Without question. Like, there's just a sort of nuance to studying cats like that and knowing that they are contributing in a way that nobody else could. Even as simple as an example as Jalen Hurts when he was running that offense, right? It wasn't necessarily the same explosive. Granted, the personnel wasn't the same, but all of the indications pointing towards him being less of a thrower of the ball than Tua Tagovailoa is, and that's just where he's taken that offense, in my opinion, as well. Just knowing that he has those guys out there doesn't mean that he's any less of a dang good quarterback. Like, he is very much so in the top of the charts conversation. People are tanking for Tua, and for a good reason.
These dudes are sick. by the way. Real quick, Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy now tied for the second most career receiving touchdowns in Alabama's school history. These dudes are nasty. Trivia for you. Who owns that record? Recent wide receiver?
Julio, right?
Julio Jones, right?
No, guys.
Not Julio.
No.
Who you got?
Amari.
Oh,
Cooper.
even more recent.
Amari.
Yeah.
Amari Cooper, the all-time leading receiver in Alabama history, which now he has 31.
Yeah.
Thanks, Max.
Shout out to the production squad.
Thanks to the production whispering those numbers
They
in my ear.
right?
But
They be
it's
looking out.
disgusting just to think that, like, this season, two guys could potentially not potentially, two guys will leapfrog the number one receiving touchdown leader in school history.
It's insane. Right, we're in week 7, just as a reminder. They
Yeah.
are still
It's
climbing
crazy.
in that number. They will not catch any shortage of touchdowns going down the line here. That is certainly not the end for Henry Ruggs III or Jerry Jeudy for the end of this season. So we will move over to the Big Ten at this point. Michigan State taking on Wisconsin, another Heisman candidate. Might as well update you on him as well. Jonathan Taylor, 2 scores on the day. A solid day for him. They held him, relatively to a less productive day on the offense, but
What a catch.
yes, the Wisconsin Badgers still find a way to get things done.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
So-
go get it.
Oh, that's
Watching
concentration.
Jonathan Taylor in the very beginning of the game, you could automatically tell that he is a force to be reckoned with and deserves to be in the Heisman contention, even though his numbers might not have been
Stellar, yeah.
Whoa. Don't take credit away from my guy just because Wisconsin busted out the can on Michigan State. Coach is just giving him some blow.
Yeah, man, you got to spread the wealth. Like we were talking about, right? With
Everybody
with
gotta
two,
eat.
yeah,
Everybody
Trevor
gotta eat.
Lawrence, you got to spread the wealth. Wisconsin, regardless, rolls. Yes, 38-0 against Michigan State, and
nasty.
that's another one of those matchups this weekend that everybody looked at and said, you know what? This could just be one of those slop fests. Michigan State coming off of a loss, they don't perform poorly, especially under their head coach. And for some reason, it just felt like that wasn't going to be the case for me, because what I saw against Ohio State was their offense getting run into the dirt because they just don't have the same personnel to match up with a lot of these top programs that are across the Big Ten. You walk in Wisconsin's defense, that's another level of good. Like, they're above Ohio State in a whole bunch of statistical measures and also just from the eye test as far as their level of play defensively. So I could have told you that them scoring 0 points was well within the realm of possibilities. I just wondered exactly how effective that offense was going to be and how potent that was going to be for the Badgers, and they exceeded my expectations by a mile, no question.
It seemed like a really balanced game. It was not just defense. This time the offense stood up too, and it made it for a really just a blowout.
Yeah,
Guys, we really got to start talking about, and I know people are going to say, the first thing they're going to say is, look who they've played. But Wisconsin has played 6 games.
Yes.
They've shut out 4 opponents.
Yes.
Only 2 teams have scored. So obviously USF, CMU, 2 shutouts. Michigan scored. That was the first time they allowed a touchdown all season in the third quarter. Northwestern scored 15. 48-0 versus Kent State. 38-0 Michigan State. This is one of the best, if not the best, defense on display right now in college football.
No doubt about that.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
And then they have Jonathan Taylor, who you guys said should be in Heisman contention. But I've been on this train since the jump. I think he's
man.
my Heisman
All right.
favorite.
You
Too
got
much
this.
love is being shown to these quarterbacks, man. Let
listen.
Jonathan Taylor. And you shouldn't be in that position. You're a running back.
I know this. I'm well aware of what position
Trying
I
to
play.
give you some
And
love,
I'm well
man.
aware. And I have all the love in the world for Jonathan Taylor. Understand that.
You got
but
like
I also
15, 11
understand-
touchdowns already.
Listen, I know how these people vote. I'm just trying to tell y'all exactly what's about to go down.
Quarterbacks get all the love.
It's not right.
He knows.
Yeah.
Big Joe knows.
Yeah.
We just telling y'all what you already
Jonathan
know.
Taylor got to put some numbers up to be even in
He got 13
without
touchdowns
question.
already.
Now, okay, we let Big Joe be a little selfish earlier, getting to recognize the tight end in that whole full score panel that we had. I'm going to be selfish now. Harvard took on Cornell on ESPN Plus. That's a plug for the company. We can go ahead and get that in there. But Harvard has a big day offensively, down 10-7 until Devin Darrington gets the score, puts him up 14-10. Jake Smith.
All crimson
Listen,
joints.
dog. Okay, so let's talk about that just real quick.
Wait, what do you
okay,
mean? I
so
think those are soft.
I gotta tell you, I was upset when we got these new jerseys because I had already left, and they get the matte helmet, they get they got black jerseys. So we have like an exit survey every single season, right?
Oh, no.
Every single
Wait,
season.
you dragged
And
Harvard?
Yes.
You get a piece of your mind.
No, and every single year, we all wrote we want black jerseys next season.
No.
Every year we wrote that joint. They give it the year after we win. I was like, I'm playing all of it.
It was
That's so inappropriate.
Memory of, in honor of, paying homage to your class. You paved the way.
That's almost even worse. Like, rubs it in
I
the salt
want
in the
to
wound.
learn. Yeah.
It's like salt in the wound
You think
in
if
honor of you guys.
asked the SID, they would slide you in with your old number, just like,
Dog.
hey, have this.
Hey,
Yeah.
Alex Ferguson, I'm going to holla at you. All right, just understand that. If you're watching this program, I'm going to holla at you.
Hey, yo,
You
Alex
have to-
Ferguson. So am I. I didn't go there. Doesn't matter. Trevor's my friend. Guilty by association. Those are
All
not.
right, let's switch gears just a little bit. We had a little history happen. Shout out to BYU, the first black starting quarterback in program history. Jaron Hall gets to start on the day. They were taking on USF, and it was truly a barn burner. It felt like these jokers were getting after it. And Jaron with that dime over to the corner there to start things off for a 35-yard touchdown. And then he was also getting it done with his legs. A little play action. We'll run the replay back. Why not? Read and react, Trev. Go up and get it. That'll work. BYU loses that one 23-27. But again, an historic start for Jaron Hall. So shout out to them and that program. Marissa, remind me what we have next. Okay. Oh, this is my favorite part of the program. Yeah, we gonna put you. Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
The glory days.
Joe Fauria. We got two different poses, man. They gave you two action shots. We usually only get one action shot in there. They hooked it up.
But I
for you.
always know where the camera is, so it's angles.
Yeah, Daddy, you got to be ready to go at all times. So let's get to know Big Joe Fauria, man. We got the resume, we got some game tape, and we want to know, we got to have you break down your own film, right? Like, best route that you ran in college.
That was a stick nod. That was
Stick
nice.
nod, that's
yeah.
always
I was like, hey, look at me, I got the ball.
That's cash money.
But watch.
Oh! So do you remember these plays?
I remember all these.
Stop it.
I usually black out after the touchdown, but this is a nice little one-hand catch in front of the ASU student section.
Wow.
Okay, were you a talker on the field? Did you let folks know how you were just doing them in?
I would do my research. I would find funny names that were pronounced funny, and I would just go with it. And I had a lot of fun talking.
I ain't mad at it. 88 receptions, 1,139 receiving yards, 20 touchdowns in the span of 2009 to 2012 season down at UCLA. That's not a bad career. That's a little money you got there.
Yeah.
Hey, Fauria.
By the way, like, your pro career wasn't nothing to sneeze at neither. Man had 24 receptions, Gary, right? 8 of them were for scores.
Those are good ratios.
33% of his catches
You
were
won't find those out.
Oh, but wait a minute. Wait a minute.
How did they find that? That's in the archives.
Let's go.
That's in the archives.
Yeah, this is really when we get to know you.
Yeah,
this is.
Oh, wow.
What is happening? Oh, there he is.
Risky business.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Well, like,
Get out of frame.
do you do this just on the regular? Because we got a lot of footage.
We were talking about it off camera at the time.
Whoa.
What's going on?
Fauria.
That's not Disney appropriate.
That's immaculate. Immaculate. So there's the resume that we talked about just a little bit. We mentioned we got an uncle that came through here, 13 seasons in the NFL as well.
Big C.
So you got it in your blood, man. Both the TV thing and the NFL thing. That's not a bad deal at all, man.
Grew up watching him my entire life, and it actually helped out.
Yeah,
it's
why not?
Good
man?
outlook, yeah.
This is the College Football Show presented by AT&T on Twitter, YouTube Live, and the ESPN app.
Wait, we
Trevor
can't-
Scales, Joe Fauria, and Gary
We
Striewski
can't just
chiming
slide
in.
past seeing your uncle win a couple Super Bowls
That's
without
true.
talking about
Couple rings. That's
your
your
favorite
boys.
thing during one of those Super Bowls.
Well, yeah. So off camera earlier, I told the story about my Super Bowl visits.
Yes.
I saw two victories for
Okay.
the Patriots.
Very dope.
One of them had a particular halftime show.
Okay.
With featuring Justin Timberlake.
Yes.
And
Oh.
a famous last name by the woman named Janet Jackson.
Yes.
And
yes.
with me and my 12-year-old prepubescent self, anyways, with the binoculars,
Yes.
right? Second ring of the bowl, staring straight at Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake, I see
Something happened.
something
Yes.
happen.
Wow.
The
And,
incident. The incident. We'll
I
call it
saw
that.
some epidermis.
Well, yes. Perfect. And on that note, let's check in on what's going on before we get in trouble over here in these streets. What's going on right now in the world of college football, past, present, and future? We have a game that went right down to the wire.
Washington State,
Wazoo
Arizona State
was in
down to
quite
the wire.
contest. Yeah. They
Some
were-
Pac-12 action? Pac-12 action?
Yeah, in midday action for them, right? It was 12 o'clock noon start for them, a 3:30 start here on the East Coast. Arizona State and Washington State right down to the wire. We have the
One out,
finish for you.
38-34. Arizona State quarterback Jaden Daniels scampering Treavor right here for 17 yards. Is time winding? I can't see.
Oh, he wanted it.
Oh, he went airborne.
He wanted it.
Wow, okay, so that puts him up.
Forks up. Did something else happen?
Washington State's going to have a chance to respond as soon as we see the replay. Good thing he...
This is the quarterback that beat out my Brady White at Memphis. That made him transfer.
Wow.
And then the last-ditch effort from Wazoo, trying to get a Hail Mary off, scramble drill, just doesn't happen.
Right.
Just doesn't happen. So the Sun Devils, man, that's Herm Edwards and them, man. Shout out to them. They got a couple big wins out there in the Pac-12s. They're rolling out there, and as we continue to roll on here on the College Football Show presented by AT&T, we got a primetime matchup coming up on the heels of us. 8 p.m. is the kickoff time.
Big game.
But we also have some games going down in about 4 minutes that are slated to kick off. USC and Notre Dame at 7:30, Penn State and Iowa. That is our ABC primetime matchup. Make sure you check that out. Louisville and Wake Forest getting after it, number 19, trying to continue their streak. At number 7, they are undefeated currently. 7:30 Eastern on ACC Network. And the big one that we talked about just a little bit, Florida and LSU down in Death Valley. We got a couple folks on our production staff that are way too amped up about that, myself included, frankly. I'm hyped.
I'm excited about this game.
Night game in Death Valley, man. It's a treat. It's a treat. And let's get into that discussion just a little bit because it's an important game for both of these franchises. And we'll have that discussion on the back end.
I don't like them very much. I know they don't like us very much.
People haven't
you guys
respected
either
us.
ever
We
been
just
to
go
a
out
game
there
at
and
that
prove people wrong.
You have? You've been to that? I hear it's like the sickest place. I can't wait to go. 2 weeks. Yeah. I was through Auburn. Like 856? Yeah. Here we go.
So here's the primetime discussion surrounding that LSU and Florida matchup that has been hyped up to this point for good reason. This is a stretch for Florida that has been considered the gauntlet, right? They've gone through a couple teams now that have challenged them at the very least. It concludes with the Florida-Georgia matchup down in Jacksonville. But for right now, Joe Burrow is on the main radar for these Florida Gators, and he's been prolific. The Gator defense, however, has also been very good. They've only allowed 52 points all season. And LSU's averaging like 55 a game. So something's got to give here. In your mind, what is the linchpin to this matchup? What exactly is the key to victory for either one of these two teams?
Well, as much as I love scoring touchdowns and being an offensive-minded guy, I do know that in this case, and especially in the SEC, that defense wins these type of games. And Florida coming off a big win last week against Auburn. This is their second game in a row being on College game day. So I just bet that they will show up to play, and I cannot wait to see a nice matchup where it's perfectly made from number one defense, number one offense to clash in a big game on
This is always fun, right? It's guaranteed to be something that you're going to want to sit down and really get an assessment on both of these rosters. But to go back to your point about defense, I really do think that it has to do with the offense of LSU and how prolific they've been. So why don't we go ahead and take a look at the AT&T top performer, best performer, and that is Joe Burrow. And he is a guy that's been the catalyst for this LSU Tiger offense. It's an offense that has struggled in past years, right? We've seen the amount of skill that has come out of that program, and it's never really amounted to much as far as, what the results show on paper statistically for the offense goes. But Joe Burrow is the one piece that they needed. He's the quarterback that makes it all go. They're now averaging an absurd amount of points and yards per contest.
I got a question from our YouTube viewers. This coming in from Kenzie Ritchie, and this one made me stop and look at it. If Florida can beat LSU, Kenzie went on to say, is Florida a legit championship contender? I'm going to say, let's rephrase that. Are they a playoff team if they can beat LSU? They're currently ranked 7th. Go to Death Valley, night game, take care of business. Georgia loses.
I think that they certainly have the resume. You get this win, the resume is undoubtable. Like you certainly can't knock that from them from that standpoint. I'm still waiting to see what exactly that offense is capable of. Kyle Trask is fine. He's not giving you the ups and downs that Felipe Franks gave you when he was in there at the helm. but they're going to have to show a certain level of gusto if they're going to be able to compete with the Oklahomas, if they're going to be able to compete. Granted, like if they compete with LSU and win this game, it's a given that they can kind of hold their own. But I think that they're going to see further and further tests down the line, specifically with Georgia. They'll play a little ball control against them. We'll see what they can do there.
Yeah, it's not like Oklahoma and a few other teams who kind of have a little bit of a easier second half of the schedule. And the Florida Gators are just getting started, and this is the catalyst to it right now. And so if they do show what they can do and actually come out with the win, I do think that they should be in the college football playoff contention. But they have to finish it off, and that's the hardest part. And those second half wins hold a lot more weight than those first half wins.
It's recency bias, right? Like you mentioned it with the Heisman conversation. You see it lately. What have you done for me lately? This past week, really, in college football. Teams sit out for conference championship weekend, and they get talked out of the conversation just because they weren't playing. It's as simple as that. The more big wins you get on a resume, especially late in the game, like you said, Big Joe, the better for you and your program. As we continue this SEC and college football playoff conversation, we had a man that was boots on the ground in Athens, Georgia, between the hedges, and saw the upset that had me upset. That is one Ryan McGee. And, buddy, just first off, can you help me out? What in Sam Hill happened in Athens?
Well, first of all, all right, I'm full disclosure, a little behind the scenes. I was there with SEC Nation.
He's returning his rental.
And the deal was I was supposed to leave. I was going to leave into the first quarter, right?
Right.
And into the first quarter, ESPN.com called and they go, dude, you might want to hang out for the rest of them. And just till halftime. And at halftime, they were like, hey, you know what? You might want to keep hanging out for this one. So I'm somewhere in South Carolina on the way home back to Charlotte. I changed into my Avengers T-shirt, and I'm not driving, y'all. I'm sitting in a Walmart parking lot. I'm actually near Clemson. I should just sneak over there and see if the Florida State fans are trying to get out with their lives. But no, listen, Georgia was flat. The stadium was flat. The offense was flat, and quite frankly, they got pushed around. That South Carolina defense was not messing around. We went into this year, every Georgia fan in the world is telling me this is the greatest offensive line of all time, and Jake Fromm, Hall of Fame, whatever. They got flat pushed around. It reminded me so much of the LSU game, which was 1 day less than a year ago. 364 days ago was that LSU game. So if you're a Georgia fan, that one today hurt because they were the better team, and they figured out a way to lose it.
Ryan, I have a question for you. Big Joe here.
Yeah.
What do you think, away from the playoff implications, what do you think from Jake Fromm and what his implications for the Heisman? Do you see even a bit of potential with there?
No, not a chance. Because the problem is, and it's honestly kind of the same question. The playoff problem and the Heisman problem are the same problem, which is you really can't have a bad day. Because guess what? Alabama's not going to have a bad day. Oklahoma is probably not going to have a bad day. Ohio State's not going to have a bad day. And the quarterbacks on those teams. Jonathan Taylor, today was supposedly a bad day for him. That was not a bad day. So if you're Fromm, I think you're out of the Heisman hunt. And if you're Georgia, you're really close to being out of the playoff hunt. They have to win out, which they did a year ago in the regular season after that loss to LSU. But this is a different team now.
I would go as far as to say that he needs to have a Heisman-type play to get them back in the college football hunt.
No, that's a great call. I'm going to totally steal that and use that in the column later.
There you go.
Perfect. So, McGee, as we continue to talk about this SEC, you mentioned casually in there Bama. And Bama had another solid performance. They go into Kyle Field with 100 and some odd thousand folks screaming at them and pull off another one of those classic Bama performances that they just wear you out. They got wide receivers running all over the place. That team looks like they're back to being the Bama that we're used to, just putting in another level in a different conversation.
Yeah, and it's just scary because Tua is not hurt. Last year he played hurt a lot more than I think people realize. He's not hurt, and the numbers are video game numbers. And meanwhile, that defense is pretty good. But you're exactly right. They went into Kyle Field, and they were not intimidated in the slightest. How great, by the way, I don't know if you saw it, but CBS put out this GIF of that dude sitting in the 12th man student section, and all those the Corps of Cadets is doing their thing, and that one guy with his Alabama jersey, he looked like Jon Snow in that GIF where it's Jon Snow with the sword and the entire
against the whole army.
At him.
Yeah,
that dude, that's my new hero. That guy. So it's but they were not intimidated in the slightest, and it's kind of like South Carolina today. Walked into Georgia, I was stunned. They didn't even. Will Muschamp, of course, he played there. He was a stud at Georgia. But they walked in there. They were not intimidated in the slightest. And, yeah, Alabama, there's a separation starting to happen. And I thought Georgia was in that group, and they're no longer in that group.
Yeah,
it's Ohio State. Clemson obviously is back on it. Alabama's in there. LSU suddenly has figured out how to score 50 points a game. So there's a separation starting to happen right now, and I think Alabama's the best team in the country.
It is about that time. We're starting to see more and more of that separation. One more thing, and when it comes to this SEC day of matchups, LSU and Florida, man, in my opinion, I don't know how much that Florida defense can really hold Joe Burrow and them under wraps. Am I wrong for thinking that we're just going to see another one of those prolific performances from the LSU offense?
They've given you no reason to think otherwise. And LSU, to me, is the wild card in this entire season. Because all we've been saying our entire adult lives is, what if LSU can figure out how to score points? Because you know they're going to play good defense. And that's who they are now. And meanwhile, Florida's still kind of back where they always were. Man, the defense is good, but can they score points? And so, yeah, until somebody shows me that they can keep Joey Football from throwing for 450 and 4 TDs, I'm probably going to be rolling with that. And I don't know there's any reason to think that they can't do that tonight. I mean, Texas was the other school that thought they were DBU other than LSU and Florida.
Woof.
And you saw what LSU did to those guys. So until somebody stops them, I'm rolling with Go Tigers with an X.
McGee, you got one dad joke for us real quick?
Yeah, no. What do you call Batman after a bad fight?
Give it to me. I don't know.
Bruised Wayne.
There it is. And on that note, we appreciate you, Ryan McGee, joining us here on the College Football Show presented by AT&T. Check them out on Marty and McGee. That is always a good time. I can assure you of that there. We appreciate you joining us, big dog. Get home safe.
I'm headed up I-85, boys. See you.
As we wrap up our primetime preview, we could talk a
Bruised
little
Wayne,
bit more about it,
let's
but why not
go.
have a little fun with educating you here on the College Football Show? Let's get in today's lesson, presented by Dos Equis, and Katie Nolan has us covered there.
Hey, this is Katie Nolan with the College Football Show, and today's lesson is give the big guy the ball.
Ehlinger rolling to his right, throws it back to the big fella, the left tackle. Why wouldn't he?
Every now and then, your offense is going to need a little boost, a change of pace, a pep in their step. And that's when you feed the big fella.
On the bootleg, this time it's Brady Aiello with the touchdown.
I mean, who doesn't love a big guy touchdown?
And the ball is up in the air and picked off. The Wisconsin defense.
So keep giving it to the big guys. And that's today's lesson.
We appreciate it, Katie. And now here on the College Football Show presented by AT&T, this is one of my favorite parts of the day. Holy cow. And my man, Big Joe, is stretching out for good reason, because we're going to do this thing differently on this Week 7 edition. Big Joe, this is our top plays segment, right? So as you get yourself warmed up, greased up, ready to go, we want to get your reaction, and not in just, what you think of the play. We want to see you celebrate the way you would had you made this play that we show.
So I'll interpret
Correct.
the dance,
Channel
celebration.
the play.
And I'll be the quarterback.
Okay.
Right. So I'm going to catch the ball.
Okay.
All right.
We got live
Right.
fire.
We got
Here
it.
we go.
I like.
Watch out for the
all
studio lights.
Well, let's fire it up. Let's fire it up. Simple.
go.
Anthony Rousseau. Nice little short pass to Isaiah Wright. He goes up and over and into the end zone. That's a 12-yard score. Pretty Herculean effort. He was celebrating midair. He knew he was in there. That's my favorite part about it. Okay, so Big Joe, as we roll this B-roll through, give you a couple of nice little replays of it. Let's see the Selly game. Let's see the Selly game.
Pressure. Hold on. I gotta make sure. All right.
So because he jumped, I think it's like an Air Jordan kind of thing. So I'd be like that, and I'd just spin it and flex.
Very
And then
simple.
moonwalk.
And, the moonwalk tackle was impressive. I wasn't expecting that. That got spicy at the end there, and I'm a fan of
Air
it.
up there, the moon's up there too.
Yeah.
That dance doesn't happen without an absolute seed that I planted.
Could not do it without Gary.
A dime dropped
right into his
from
hand.
Striker over there.
Way better than Jake from State Farm.
Next play, let's get into another one. Another pass, but this one didn't end too well. Western Michigan taking on Miami of Ohio. It's 3rd and 5 at the Western Michigan 25, and it's a big fella.
man touchdown.
It's the big fella, Drake Spears. 74 yards to the crib.
Fella got some wheels.
The stamina, the wheels, like you said, Gary. He went up and got that one too, man. Plucked it right out of midair.
Wheels right there.
Quarterback did not have
Like
a
the ball-
shot.
Oh, no, actually, I was gonna say the ball kind of just absorbed into him, but nah, he had the hands.
Hey, look. Hey, if he rocking 20, he better be able to move.
I think this play speaks for itself, though. If I'm going to the stadium,
Yeah.
is that a away or home game?
It looked like a home game,
Home
but
game for the
take into
interception
account he
team.
just ran 74 yards, so you're not fully air
Ready?
capacitated.
So I think you play on that and you give him a little, like you're gonna dance, and then you're just like,
Act like you've been there before.
That's
Oh,
it.
okay,
and then
there
you're
you go.
good, and then you just give him, just walk.
I thought you were about to twerk.
No, man.
He's ready to go.
We're kind of
And you hit him with the
because we saw the video earlier.
did.
We know you can
I
do
didn't
it.
want ad nauseum.
We can't do it too much. All right, we're having fun with this. I like the Sully game. It's solid. It's strong to this point. Let's go to Oklahoma then for this
flicker.
next one. Flea flicker. And this is, so if you're CD Lamb here, right, Big Joe, you done made by 6 different defenders absolutely whiff on a tackle attempt. You feeling yourself. Even he spiked the ball in this one. 5 catches.
You're feeling tired.
5 catches.
Texas.
Off me and to the crib. So like this play it's viral. You know it's viral. You know you got everybody watching you after this one.
But
This calls for a special
It
selling.
started though off the flea flicker. So Treavor, I need this ball back.
Oh, bet,
Yeah,
bet,
so
bet,
the
bet.
flea
we
flick-
need, we need full execution for you.
Cool.
We're going.
I'm with it. I'm with it.
Play
Straight
action,
up,
play
right?
action.
Right
Okay.
back.
Action.
Boom.
Yeah.
Oh.
He out,
He's
he
open. He's
right.
open.
To the crib.
You got passed.
Okay.
Everyone's part of it.
Oh.
Everyone's part of it, and then you mix it up a little bit.
Okay.
And then you smash it above your head.
That's how you finish it. That's how you finish the drill.
Shotgun it and then
I like
smash
it.
it.
I like it. I like that a lot. You got to flex on them in all
Yeah.
different kinds of ways. Yeah. Okay. Very solid team effort on that celebration.
was.
I can appreciate that, fellas. Last one, Jalen Hurts.
Oh, this
this was the Heisman play that I was talking to you about earlier, Big Joe and Gary. This dude goes behind the back, gets the completion to who other than CD Lamb, by the way. But here it is. Rush right down his grill, go behind the back, little and one mix save for you. I'm gonna step up out of that. I'm gonna tell my man scramble drill, work to the left, and I'm gonna hit you in stride, right? Like, it was special. It was special. So this time, instead of being the receiver, I want the quarterback to celebrate. Y'all get to determine who is said quarterback, but I need the quarterback celebration after pulling off something like that.
We didn't even get to coordinate.
Okay.
Yeah, we did.
But that did have shades of, like, remember when Johnny Manziel did sort of like the same thing at Alabama, knocked him off, and that was his highlight.
Right.
Reggie Bush did it on the sideline 10 years ago.
This
Yep.
is me right here.
Oh.
I'm gonna give it to
Oh,
you,
he's giving it to
right.
me.
and then you take care of business.
And then
'cause
I'm gonna do
you're
it.
the proven winner.
I am.
Unless we're gonna have the fire.
I'm good.
which
The
I've always
fire's
wanted to do
starting.
that.
Fire starting. Oh,
It's a group, everybody appreciating the fire.
I've always
I like it.
I've always wanted to do that, and I
That's
finally
swaggy.
got my
We just
chance.
did it.
Pretty
We just
swaggy.
did it.
There it is.
Sign me up.
Gary Striewski,
you need
touchdown
to
celebration extraordinaire. I rock with it. I rock with it. We appreciate that. That was good. Okay, see, that's a different flavor to Holy Cow. I think
like
we can-
that.
We might have to incorporate that. a
Well,
little
I'm
more.
glad that we
think it's
I'm
here
glad
to
that we
stay.
preceded that with Fauria's examples and abilities to already dance. I mean,
Correct.
It was
Played
a
right into
seamless
his
fit.
strengths. That's
Right.
what we're
A
about
seamless
here.
fit while I'm sitting on a pillow over here, so it's great.
That's comfortable. Don't sit there and knock that
I mean,
pillow.
comfort
And it makes you pretty. Let's move on to something else that we enjoy around here, and
oh,
that's
this is
called
good. Bruh.
Bruh. Very simple execution here. It's just the plays of the day that you look at, you see them happen, and you can't help but react with the word yes and the sentiment.
You
Bruh.
got to put the.
Right, it's just it's
man.
deflating in a sense. It really is. And let's get it right into it then. Memphis, Temple, second quarter action, 3rd and 6 at the Memphis 28. Temple's got the ball until they have just, I don't know what goes on in the backfield.
Little bad news Bears action.
Yeah, I think you can incorporate some of those funny cymbal sounds
Oh,
and stuff.
yo.
Like you highlight. Yeah, nice little Chris Burns.
Yeah,
did.
Chris
Get one of those in there. Yeah, no, that was tough. I
Three
think
owls,
that's just
no.
poor mesh point. You got to practice that if you're going to just pull off that stuff in the back.
Especially with that much action going on in the backfield, that has to be something that you have like the know like the back of your hand.
Oh yeah, you can't mess around with something like that. South Carolina making an appearance here. This is the only thing that made me happy. If y'all were watching this game with me, I was yelling all kinds of obscenities. It wasn't great. It wasn't a pleasurable moment for anybody involved. But Look, I had hope here, and I shouldn't have. And that's just the greatest. It's the realest reaction from Ryan Helinski.
Bruh.
But just wait. Hashtag college kickers. Rodrigo Blankenship gonna come through for you.
His
in the
goggles
worst
must have
way.
been fogged up.
Yeah.
His goggles is,
Man, don't
no.
disrespect my man's goggles like that.
There's
dog.
just pain behind those.
Don't disrespect my
I mean,
man's goggles.
I used to
like
wear those things too.
You had the rec specs?
Yeah, the rec specs.
No, I had them when I was young.
Yeah, you got a little James Worthy action,
I
man.
had the rec specs
Yeah.
on under the helmet, Gary. Rec specs under the helmet, bro. We was out until I got contacts. Your boy swag.
Contacts were difficult.
Yeah, dog, you ain't mess with him at a young age. It
Right.
is what it is.
Right.
It is what it is. Next one, Jack Cohen. This is
Oh, this is the one, 4th and 2.
Yeah.
Little misdirection. Oh, touchdown, right?
Yeah, that's good.
No!
Sniper. The swamp monster got him.
No!
That was on 4th and 2. They get the first down.
He doesn't like touchdowns. He does not
Bruh.
like. That's a tight end too.
Bruh.
First of all, he fell for 8 yards. Yo, look at him. He falls for 8 yards. Oh, yeah, we can't see it, but
Yo, that's definitely one of those moments where you know you about to get sniped on film. Like, you know. The moment it happens, you're like, I don't want to watch this film anymore. I don't. Like,
he
you
started
know.
falling at the 9-yard line.
It seems like the
and
groundskeeper.
landed at the 1.
The groundskeeper got replaced by the bowling alley oiler up.
Yo.
Whatever.
Dog, it
wild.
was so crazy because Jonathan Taylor is running alongside him and puts up the finger like he knows his boy's about to score.
And then, bruh.
Simply put,
Down
bruh.
at the 1. Down at the 1.
Yeah, that's what it's for. Yeah, it's the
Yikes.
one.
All right, last bruh moment. It's a little bit of a serious talk, so let's get a little discussion going, right? My man Justin Murphy, an interesting set of tweets that he issued out Thursday night regarding his experience with the Houston Cougars program. This is an old lineman who was a graduate transfer into the program, sort of told his story about with the recent redshirting of the senior quarterback and receiver within that program. One move that Dana Holgorsen, the head coach, is perfectly in cahoots with, took it as a, quote, developmental year. He offered it to a myriad of seniors, evidently, said he gave the choice to those that contributed in a major way and said, hey, do you want to take this season to redshirt, come back, and actually make a run? So, in summation, that's just Houston tanking. And I want to get kind of your take on how it was received by Justin Murphy and how upset he was at the idea of a team tanking and then being brushed off by his head coach. According to him, again, this is all just a series of tweets that he fired off Thursday night, but just the idea of, we'll call it tanking, even though we don't know that that's officially what they were doing, but essentially taking full advantage of that 4-game redshirt policy.
This new rule that was not implemented when we were playing. It is something that is invoking another element of professionalism in this amateur sport. I feel for Justin. I've played with plenty of guys that went through the same exact thing as him, that had the potential to redshirt potentially, or but played through injuries and then it didn't go his way. I would have liked to have seen this rule be implemented in a more positive way in the past, but it seems like this is teetering the line with something that shouldn't be done. It's guys have when you're playing football, you have a 100% injury rate.
Right.
When you give the guys that option to redshirt, you're there for a small amount of time. A finite amount of time in college to make your mark, to realize a dream. And Jonathan is getting that dream ripped from him, and that's how he feels. So that Twitter rant, I think he did it the best way he could.
Right.
That was his voice. He
told his story.
Spoke his mind, told his story. It seemed honest, it seemed real, and it seemed just real and I felt for him. Like, reading the tweets, I'm like, I've heard that before, I've seen that before, I've been in that scenario, and I don't think I would have reacted much differently. I actually commend him for actually doing it in a way where he was concise about what actually happened.
Yeah, no, he was certainly had a level of explanation that really isn't offered to many people outside of these programs that are operating at this huge financial basis at this point. And for me to go back to the top of your point, where you mentioned it's another element of professionalism, for me it's more so just a level of agency that we haven't seen in collegiate sports, where athletes just now have more power, and we're not used to seeing that power being wielded. In this case specifically, Dana Holgorsen is sort of in cahoots with that power and turning it into long-term productivity and positive boost in their program. But at the end of the day, it is about the agency that these players have. And there is going to be collateral damage because of that agency that players will take. Justin Murphy is the prime example of that, an unfortunate way that thing sort of just unfolds when you are allowing this level of power to players. And for the record, I am all for the power going to the players that are making incredible amounts of money for this, what we call amateur sport.
But people like Justin, there are guys like that
Without question.
with certain loopholes and certain rules that do suffer. And it's a shame to see, because this is he's been doing it his whole life, and it seems as if it's over now. You spoke off camera how he was potentially pushed to medical redshirt.
Yep.
Not necessarily his choice.
Right.
So you take away the choice of a man to play the sport that he loves, he's going to react a certain way. And like I said, I feel for him. I hope this doesn't become a thing in college football, but who knows? Stuff might get off the rails.
Gary over there dabbing. I'm not entirely sure why.
Oh, you know exactly why.
Why is that, bro?
Late on it.
Man, give me that.
Give me that.
I wasn't here last week.
I know,
was
we
in LA
missed you.
doing
I said
my
RIP,
thing.
even
So
though
we
you
get to
were.
do my segment.
Let's do it.
Unless you guys still want to talk
No,
about Mr.
listen.
Murphy.
The floor is yours,
All right,
baby.
here's
Run
the
it.
thing, and Fauria, you're gonna love this because, man, Gimme That is basically just the compilation of the best catches that we've seen all
yes.
week, including today, and then we get to go crazy, maybe reenact them. So y'all ready?
Let's go.
Run the graphic, man. Give me that. Kimchi Poppy, Man Mask Monday. They're still using those graphics. That's fine. All right, we're starting. Oh, Treavor, look away.
Look away.
Jake Fromm.
Oh.
I know. From
Yeah,
State.
just go ahead and run the highlight, because I don't
Doing
want to talk
thing.
about this right now. Yeah, y'all
Georgia. It was an uncharacteristic game for Mr. Jake Fromm. A couple interceptions, a couple completions. Unfortunately, this was to
Hands.
the wrong player. We already highlighted Israel Makawamu's day. That's his second pick. Man, give me that.
You heard people say cornerbacks are just receivers with bad hands.
That doesn't apply there.
Does not apply here. He cradled that ball like it was a girlfriend.
He's going the wrong direction, or excuse me, his body momentum's taking him one way, and then obviously he has to peel back.
You know what else is going the wrong direction?
Uh-oh.
That daggone ball. Shouldn't have been thrown at. I'm upset, Gary.
In the vicinity of the receiver.
That catching radius is
by
big.
definition, that's if you're 6'8", that's a big vicinity.
Big catch.
Receiver
Yeah.
looking around like,
How did you catch that?
I think we're staying in the SEC. All about actual interceptions. So we're going to show you another defensive. Man, give me that. Oh, the good folks in Neyland Stadium getting to celebrate a win by their Volunteers.
hey, that doesn't happen often, evidently.
This is Nigel Warrior. Man,
Ooh.
give me that. And that might be
That's a pick, too.
the
Yeah,
best.
Around the helmet, too?
And did you hear the name? Nigel Warrior. That's a hell of a last name for any football player, let alone a defensive back who's got to battle every single play. It's
pretty hard.
I'm getting into coaching.
Yeah,
It's a lot, that's a lot to live up to.
You ever been draped in coverage like that where it was like, yo,
have you ever been robbed of
why'd you
a
throw me the
reception?
ball?
Not necessarily. If I'm going up for a ball, no one else is getting it but me.
Swaggy. Let him know.
Give me that.
Let him know.
You can say that when you're 6'8",
Yeah.
and you don't have to jump to touch a basketball. I'm still
my head hit a
salty about
studio
that.
light earlier.
We're staying in the great volunteer state of Tennessee. We already saw this game earlier. We got Memphis, Temple. That's Memphis wide receiver DeMonte Coxey with
How
the
about that
moxie.
throw, though? That throw by fellow Valley kid Brady White.
Hey, that's your boy.
Second plug.
Boy.
Second
guy.
plug. Man, give me that. That's a 24-yarder from Brady White. It says in my notes. Also says, shout out to Big Joe's boy.
Yeah, there you go.
It's all covered. We're
Oh,
covered.
yeah.
You got it.
So they knew. All right,
We're on the same
we're
page.
taking things on the road, Big Ten country. Michigan at the Illini. Shea Patterson, pass complete to Donovan Peoples-Jones. The people person's
tough catch.
people paper catcher. That was hard.
To cradle and be away from your body, and it gets past his eye vision because it hits the second window. Once you get past when your arm should be catching the front, that's a tough catch. And he rolled his body and contorted his body so the ball wouldn't hit the ground and his back hit the ground. That's next level body control.
We get player speech a lot, but that was the first time I've heard of the second window.
Yeah.
First window, second window?
Yeah, so your eye vision, you know this.
Yep.
If you're catching it right here, that's where you're supposed to catch the ball.
Yeah.
If you get past your vision, you're using your peripheral now.
Right.
You're
Okay.
literally not using your original vision. So it's a second window of vision. It's harder to catch that. It's like when you see guys catch the back end of the ball with their really sticky gloves sometimes.
That third vision?
Well,
Third
right there.
window? Is there a third window? That's
yeah,
some
it's
OBJ stuff?
when you drop it. Or goes to OBJ.
That's
So now you take that verbiage and go sound smarter than all of your college football loving friends. First window, second window, third window, OBJ. Last one.
go.
Give me that. Michigan State at Wisconsin. This is Jack Cohn to Quintez Cephas. 19-yard score. Man, give me that. And I also love the jumping bump. Oh, God, that's sick.
Yo, like the jump, the concentration to make sure you lock that in, dog.
That's tough. I would obviously like to see the ball get caught the first time, but
Right.
that was the only way he could catch that. And to have that wherewithal to find the ball while you're in the air on the way down when the guy's
Yeah.
draped over you, next level
And you
stuff.
lived in that red zone situation where you have to leave your feet. You are a gigantic target and you know you're about to get blasted. He didn't right there, but that's got to be the one thing you're thinking of. First, please catch this ball, please catch this ball. And then two, please don't kill me, please don't
Right.
kill me, please don't kill me.
But when you actually do catch the ball, the killing, or at least the attempt of killing, feels way better.
As long as you maintain possession.
Yeah.
And that is the analysis you can only get here on the College Football Show, presented by AT&T on Twitter, YouTube Live, and the ESPN app. And as we continue to roll on, close this bad boy out. 5 minutes left. This just happened. Got a couple quick things to update you on. Penn State and Iowa. Yep, early in the first quarter, Sean Clifford gets sacked by Chauncey Golston. And that is just a tough play to start things off for the Nittany Lions. An explosive offense, one team that's really just been rolling on all cylinders, especially on the offensive side of the ball. They've re-upped like nobody really expected. They're continuing to roll through that Big Ten East. They'll make some noise against the Ohio States and Michigans and want to kind of just pick off somebody and basically ruin the championship's hopes. Another quick update for you. We are in double overtime between Baylor and Texas Tech. Quiet as it's kept, Baylor Bears 5-0. So that's just something to keep in mind with the Big 12. Yeah, man. So that's just another one of those things that you got to kind of keep your eye out for. Do we have another This Just Happened? Y'all let me know. We do. So let's just get to it.
What else happened?
New Mexico State taking on Central Michigan. New Mexico State running back. Hey now, excuse me.
Oh.
Hey, you can get up out of the paint as well.
to the ground?
To the crib. You want to do it?
Oh, man. That's nice.
37-yard score.
A spin?
Jason Humphrey.
Disorientation after the first spin.
And then the shed of the tackle too, dog.
But is he dizzy at all, you wonder?
Doesn't matter. He got to the crib.
He got
to the crib.
At the end of the day, that's all that matters.
That's it. 6 on the board, baby.
Black out, get dizzy, score, it don't matter.
Just make it happen, baby. Just make it happen. Now, this is just, as we send you on your way, we like to get a couple laughs in. Sad fans, it is a collection of the folks that are just upset. All I know is there better not be video footage of me on this. In any case, that's close enough.
Oh, we were talking about
Georgia.
these guys.
Yeah, like the
Sad face, but at the same time, when you lose, like you gotta sat crying and
You're
washing.
probably in the shower.
In the
like-
shower with all the red water running down the drain, and you're just like, oh, we lost.
Yeah, like
It's
dude from Arrested Development who painted himself blue and just had to cry it out when he was in the shower.
Exactly, like, that's how I
Part of the
see it.
Blue Man group.
That's what
like
I
that's
see.
that's precisely what goes down after you lose a game like this. I agree. It was just thumbs down for everybody all day in Athens State. Like I just was.
What irony that he's wearing a W, but he got an L.
Big Joe for.
Yeah, baby, come on. Come on.
Yes, that was perfect. That was perfect. He just looks stressed.
Slow-mo. Yeah, he ain't loving life.
He's just going through it right now.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, those are tears, no?
Yo, weird.
Man.
Oh, what's going on in the back? She's upset.
Yeah,
I wonder if that's even about the game. That's probably about something else.
My man couldn't even watch. This is just.
Okay.
It's like Dabo Swinney's brother.
Yeah,
He low-key look like Dabo, don't he?
and also, he's like, why did I just drive all the way out?
Brian gonna lie, I thought that was Mark Zuckerberg. Oh, here we go. Surrender Cobra, the classics.
It's just, that one's never going to get old.
What about our friend to the left?
SMH.
I'm so mad that y'all just went straight to the Georgia reel and
like
just got
the
the whole thing.
I like the hand.
We've got 8 sad
But
fans.
What is she grabbing?
No, that's just like the ultimate sound of like, what are we doing?
Like
Will
the
you
hand in
just,
ether.
will you like,
trying to grab a reason for what's happening.
correct.
Someone tell me what's going on.
Correct, because like clearly I can't extrapolate this mentally, so I'm gonna just reach out for it physically and see if I can get it that way.
Make me understand this loss.
Like, please help me out with this. Help me out with
Why
this.
did I come to the tailgate so early?
Right. Why can't I go back? Last thing before we go here on the College Football Show, presented by AT&T, your Pac-12 preview for the night. Oregon State taking on Utah.
Not on my
Utah is like one of those teams that was the sexy pick to begin the season. as far as making a run in the Pac-12, but they're going to have to go to bat with Oregon down the stretch here. But Utah's a team that's just going to have to continue to get stuff done in order to kind of keep themselves in that top 25. And when those first rankings come out, they'll see where they are, see if they can make a push in that Pac-12 North, and kind of make their run from there.
Utah is on the upswing in the Pac-12, and against the Oregon State, a team that beat my Bruins last week. I was there witnessing it, honorary captain as well. But hey, 1-0 in the coin toss.
Flex.
That's cool, right? Yeah, I'm excited to see a nice Pac-12 matchup where there's actually implications.
No doubt about that. As we wrap this bad boy up, Baylor ended up winning in that double OT contest between them and Texas Tech. We appreciate y'all joining us here in the College Football Show presented by AT&T. You make this thing happen. The other folks that make this thing happen, the production folks in the control room that are just patient as all get up with me and my rambling. We appreciate you. We appreciate Gary Striewski joining us. Joe Fauria joining us as well. And everybody, Ryan McGee, Katie Nolan, and we will see you all for Week 8 action here on the College Football Show presented by AT&T. Be well. Y'all take care.